Greetings, people of the internet. This is Scott with Circworks, and this is 100 Days of Making Comics, day 52. I always do that. I always have to think about it. I should really know what episode this is before I go on with it. But yeah, it's somewhere after. Yeah, I think it's 52 because I remember doing 50, and then I did 51 yesterday, so it's got to be 52. Not that that's that big a deal, but anyway. So what is 100 Days of Making Comics? It's where I put aside at least 30 minutes, and sometimes I'll say 20, but I mean 30. It's always 30 at least, to work on my own personal comic book projects. Here's the pitch: Young and the Dead. It's Kids vs. Zombies. It's Night of the Living Dead matched with Goonies. And it is just super, a lot of like 80s kids adventure fun. Anyway, so I am working on issue 3 of that book right now, and yesterday I did kind of like a speed paint of it's not ready, I don't know if it's a speed ink of my dog is over there doing something. I don't. Ooh. Have you guys ever seen 3 Men and a Little Baby? You know there's a ghost in that movie. Well, actually just like a cutout, a cardboard pop-up. I got a ghost back there, you see that? Anyway, I just caught the corner of my eye. Anyway, what was I talking about? Yeah, so I did this speed ink type thing. It was kind of fun. I haven't really done one of those before, and it kind of shows you quickly just my process sped up quite a bit. But I thought today maybe I'll just take some time and actually do something in real time, not real long, but just kind of talk about inks since we're on that subject from yesterday. Just kind of explain what I do, what I use. And I don't know if I've talked about any of this stuff before. Every time I move, it seems like the lights like try to refocus on me, so it's freaking me out. I got to get some kind of a better lighting in this room. So what I was thinking about doing was just showing you some of the stuff the tools and everything that I use to ink. Pretty standard really. So let's see. When I pencil, we're not really talking about pencil, but I told you before I use this. I just use regular like drafting lead holders and this non-repo blue lead. It's got kind of a film to it, so some inks seem to react weirdly to this. Like sometimes you go over it and it doesn't quite want to cover it, so I have to. But I usually draw pretty light with this, so it's usually only if I start getting real dark. If I press a little hard, sometimes the ink will have trouble adhering to that pencil, which is a weird thing, and some inks work better than others. I've been using Black Magic. It's just because it's the easiest to find, and I don't always have time to go out and go to the art store or order online. I forget until I need it, so I'll just go out to like a Michael's or something and buy some Black Magic. I've also used this Pelikan ink. It's really good ink. The ink I really like though is it's an acrylic based ink by FW, and I mean this thing has got like super solid blacks, but it's acrylic, so it's almost like a plastic. It's a little thicker. So just depending, it might be something you might want to try out, but it's FW Artist Ink. They've got it all kinds of different colors, but it's for like, it shows airbrushing and repeated graph pens and everything like that. Yeah, and and that's for anything that I'm trying to get some line weights. I use a brush. I never really mastered the quill. I've got 3 brushes now that I've been using. These 2 are Winsor Newton Series 7. These are the real fancy, super expensive ones. And unfortunately, the bristles on some of these are starting to kind of waver a little bit. So I've been having problems with it, which sucks because I don't want to buy a new of those brushes. The other brush that I actually used yesterday is this one, and it's relatively inexpensive. This is Winsor Newton too, but it's a watercolor. It's I guess it's kind of their economy brand. It's Cotman, and this is a 0.0 or an aught The Winsor Newton ones, I've got a 1 and a 2, but I like inking with this smaller brush. For whatever reason, the real tiny ones, I seem to have more control, and I can get pretty thick lines too when I press down a little bit. So that's what I use to ink. Yeah, and then also the Pro White for touching up. I think this is pretty much dried up. Sometimes I can add some water to it, but it doesn't work that great. Not the product doesn't work great. This particular one, because it's old and it's crusty. And then I bought this, and I've used it a little bit on some sketching. But this is a Uniball Sino Broad. It's just like kind of like a jelly pen, but it's a nice pen. And I can go and do some white lines over blacks with this one. It's pretty decent. And then I use, for the straight lines and everything, I use with my rulers, I'll use basically whatever. I used to use Rapidograph a long time ago, but they're kind of a pain in the ass to clean. And you have to hold them like straight up usually to have them work. I mean, I used to use them all the time. Even before computers, when I used to do logos and stuff, everything had to be precise. So we would do logos and everything on vellum with Rapidograph pens, and I guess it's just nightmares from back in those days, and that's why I don't like to use them, because it was a pain. So now I just use like microns, or actually yesterday I didn't have the right size micron, so I just used this thin tip of a Sharpie, which Sharpies are good for certain things like quick signing your names and stuff like that, but they're not the best pen. So I use microns, and I don't know, just different brands. This is a Sakura Pigma Sensei. I don't. You can use whatever you want, really, but I just thought I'd tell you what I'm using, and I'm going to show you. I'm just going to ink one little panel just to kind of show you slowed down in real time what it looks like when I ink. So let's check it out. Okay, hopefully you are seeing this and the lighting is okay. It might be a little bright, but I need that light to see. So this is that Cotman brush. They sell for, this particular one sell for about $5, so it's a rather inexpensive brush. I got just a little piece of scrap paper that I can use to make line. This is actually an old Promo. I don't really illustrate like this anymore. There's more kind of an airbrush style, so I've got these, so I just use these old Promos to kind of test my inks out. I'm going to dip it in, make sure I got plenty of ink. I have to do that a couple times since I'm just now trying to fill this brush up with ink. And so I'm just going to ink this panel. This is my character Kelly, and I have reference for her here just to see. She looks a little different in this page because she just woke up, so she doesn't have like the bow in her hair or anything. Just these thin strands of hair. Usually, you probably can't tell because the camera is probably not that great, but it seems my hand's a little more wobbly when I'm on the camera. Maybe I'm a little nervous, but I think it looks okay. Yeah, the trick is just obviously, the reason why you want to use a brush, if you're going for that effect, is to vary the line weight. So you want to get thick or thin, and that just depends on how hard you press on it. Now, some people would illustrate a comic with maybe like a micron, which is fine, it gives a particular look, but usually you can't really vary the line weights with that. With the eye, the irises and the pupils and everything, I usually use a micron for that and maybe a template, just because it's really hard to get a perfect circle with a brush, at least for me. I'm sure there's people out there that have totally mastered that. I'm not one of them. Okay, I should make, since she's a girl, typically, just as a cliche, you want to make the eyelids, or the above the eyelids a little darker, just to insinuate that she has heavier eyelashes. Although I think my son's eyelashes are way bigger than my daughter's. But you know, you deal with cliches a lot in comics because you're trying to get the simplest. You're trying to represent in the quickest way, just so you glance certain things. So. See that? Yeah, it doesn't look like much on the camera. I don't know how long this is. Hopefully, I didn't want to. I picked this panel because it's relatively simple, but I don't want this to run too long, and I don't want to like rush it either because I don't want to screw up my page. So hopefully this isn't taking too much time, or too boring, because I'm sure, you know, anyone that follows these kind of art shows, I'm sure they've seen people ink before, so this is nothing new, or maybe nothing exciting. Obviously, she is in a little bit of a shock. She's seen something that's quite out of the ordinary for her. So the expression on her face is going to follow that logic. The problem with me is because that was real wobbly. I'll have to go back and correct that. Didn't like that. Yeah, I think it's best for me to just do these without the camera, so they can be a little more precious with the look. My hand must be shaking because these are getting some wobbly lines here. I don't like that. But, you know, this stuff's always easy to fix. You know, even though it's not digital, when I take it into the computer, I can always fix it, or I can go in with some whiteout, or just like what I'm trying to straighten out some stuff here. Helps to kind of turn the page too. Alright, so I think I want to do some black inside the mouth here. See, I can feel pretty good even with this little zero brush. Fill in the blacks, I mean. But usually for big solid areas, I'll go with a larger brush. And then usually under the chin, I want where the shadow is, so I'm just going to put a little black there. Under the lips. Make that a little darker, and I'm going to set that there. Normally I would wash that up, but before I bring out the Micron pens, where are they? But since we're just doing a little demo here, let me find the right. Looks good. Oh, this pen started off good, now it's kind of losing ink fast. Let's see if I can finish this up with this. Nope, darn it. Yeah, I don't want to have to stop the camera and go find another pen. So let's see if we can make this work. I'll just keep going over it a little bit. And then I'm going to do a little highlight here, because usually the eyes are very reflective. So depending on what the light source is, you're going to have some highlights. Usually I just kind of use a generic one. unless it's a close-up. Like if it's a close-up, you could do like boxes, like a window with panes reflecting in the eyes or whatever. But for this, I just use a generic, just a round circle for the highlight. I'm going to fill in the pupils here. So, let's see. I want the outer edge to be a little thicker on this, since we're pretty close up. All right. So yeah, and then of course, you know, there's a border there. Usually I do the borders first, but in this case I didn't. So, I mean, that's kind of, you got kind of a warped perspective because the way that camera angle is, but, so yeah, so there's a little demo on how I ink a page. And back to me again. So, yeah, so just a little demo on inking that page. And then one thing I noticed, so when I did my little speed ink, I kind of showed you this. I keep looking at it and I'm like, I'm not sure I'm too thrilled about it. There's just a lot of detail, more than I usually do. And obviously there's nothing wrong with it, but I kind of established a certain look through the other books, and I should have been paying closer attention to those books when I started inking this page. And again, that's one of the major one of the major problems if you pencil real loose like me and do most of your details in the inking. If I would have penciled this, then I would have known in the beginning. But I'm just kind of trying to streamline this process as best I can, because the amount of time that I have, and when I want to get these out, it already takes a long time to do it. And I just kind of learned a long time ago, and this isn't, I'm not trying to say that I don't want this book to look as good as possible, but if I spend so much time on every little detail trying to make everything perfect, this thing would never get done. And I'd rather have a book that I can show somebody that's probably 90% of what I can do, as opposed to working at 100% and not have anything. So, so anyway, but anyway, so yeah, yeah. So if you look kind of at this hand here, kind of scraping, a lot of stuff going on there, and you know, I might get rid of some of that little detailed work. I don't know, but like here's the cover to the first issue here, and you can see some of the hands there. I don't know. It's a little more clean, and I don't know. I just kind of for this particular project, I don't know. I think I dig a little more. So, so I'm going to pay closer attention to that kind of stuff as I go on, and I want everything to look, you know, obviously, and some things are going to change when you start on a project, especially when it takes as long as I do. Your style sometimes changes along the way. You grow. Sometimes your characters get more simpler because you're used to drawing them. Like if you look at old, like Calvin and Hobbes, the original ones, it looks way different, a little more detailed. Not as, you know, once Watterson draws those, same thing with Schultz and Peanuts and everything. Once you draw those so many times, it gets more simple, and it just boils it down to kind of the essence. So I got to pay closer attention to that kind of stuff. You can see these are just some like test drawings I did, and this is a little more of the look that I want. Real nice, real clean, not a whole lot of you know, little hash lines or whatever you call that stuff. And there's nothing wrong with that, of course, but again, I just established a look for this book and I want to stick to it. So, and again, this is a scene where there's zombies, and it's supposed to look kind of eerie, and you know, the door's all scraped up and everything. So I don't know, maybe I'll change some things, maybe I'll wait and see how it looks when I start to color it. I don't know. I'm thinking of maybe, at least for the next few episodes, maybe doing one page at a time instead of just inking everything, just to kind of give you a little more variety. So I might actually scan this. I might start coloring, you know, doing the line art and that, or the letters or whatever, just to you know, switch it up a bit. But we'll see. We'll see what kind of mood I am in tomorrow when I decide to hit the art desk. So until then, I will see you tomorrow for episode 54. And you guys, again, thanks for following, thanks for liking the videos and subscribing and all that stuff. And I'll see you tomorrow. That is all.